Welcome to the Free from Binge Eating podcast with me, Brid, your host. Binge eating sucks. Trust me, I know. I was stuck in that spiral of binge, restrict, diet, yo-yoing weight loss, feeling guilty and ashamed, and hating my body for 10 years. Now that I'm out, I'm turning my pain into purpose by helping you stop binging, start loving your body, self, and life again. It's time to live free from binge eating. Are you ready? Let's go.
I've never talked about it with someone, and in your page, in your Instagram, I found comfort, found knowledge.
Awesome. Well, how about we start off by you introducing yourself to the listeners, your name, your age, where you live, what you do.
Okay. My name is Camila, and I'm 27 years old. I'm a psychologist, graduated and specialized. I work as a psychologist.
Okay. We've spoken in my DMs over the years. Like I was looking at it today and it goes back a long time. So we've spoken in there, but I don't really know your full story. So for me and everyone listening, tell us where you feel like maybe things started to go a bit wrong or negative with your food and body journey.
As I become a teenager, I've heard some comments about my body, about my food choices, and I've always been an active girl, always like that, to play sports a lot, and at some point I was becoming older, but my food choices wasn't right for people, and they thought that I ate too much, even if I played the sport so a lot, and I became influenced about these comments about my body, and I became a kind of shame, a kind of sad about what I heard, and I started to diet. Genuinely diet, and sometimes people tend to asking good comments about my food choices, about my body, because I've become slimmer.
So they were like, "How did you do it? How did you?"
Yes,
right.
And I became an influence. And people tend to see me as a model of active life, good choices. And at some point, I became college. And one thing that marks me a lot about your page was about find hobbies. I just studied and became stressed about college. And sometimes the only escape from my stress, from my emotions, was food. And that becomes even worse when I talk about relationships, because I've been historic and a history of bad choices in love, and I accepted all that people gave me, without judgment, without criticize, and those food choices became worse and worse, and I escaped from food.
So it sounds like, there were a few factors all coming into the mix. So there was like those initial comments from people just judging on what you ate. And actually it's funny because the comments on, you were active and you're eating a lot of food. I had the exact same thing. Like I remember my dad even would be like, "You're going to eat that whole pizza?" And I was like 14 doing sports every single day.
Yeah.
But it stuck in my head. And he was like, "You better be careful when you're still a teenager, but when you're older, you're not going to be able to do that."
And it hurts, right? Because there are comments from people that you like, that you admire, that you love, and they sometimes don't see how it hurts. And I have a sister too. She's 1 year older of me, and she's thin, very thin. And they always compared me and my body type with her. And sometimes it gets hurts even worse.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And I tried always to be a little like similar or with her and her beauty. And I get stuck a lot of years with binge eating and bulimia. And I get at the point that I've seen a doctor, and she gave me an ultimate, telling about heart issues, and telling that at long term it will get hurt me. I've become afraid. So with these emotions in discomfort, I'm eating more, even more, but don't purge it anymore, vomiting. And I started to ask for help in the internet, seeing pages. And I know this is kind of risky because there are so many pages that sell information that we do not follow. And I found you, and I've seen truth in what you lived, in your history, and I became inspired to change. So I stopped vomiting. So I stopped binge eating because I started to see good in food and good in relationship with food, improving my relationship with food, and find another hobbies. I became know me myself better, and try to direct my emotions as a psychologist, directing my emotions to something healthier to me, but not healthier the kind of cave girl, good vibe girls.
Yeah.
Healthier and at point of balance, find balancing. And I get stuck sometimes at some points and some kind of moments, but I find more freedom. Even if I didn't purchase your material, with knowledge that you share with us, it's a good starting point, a good starting point to find balance, to find freedom, because I'm more present in my relationships. I'm more present and fine with boredom. Life doesn't have to be always good, but I can do better for me at the point that I am.
Amazing. So just like to set the scene a little bit more. So you started to see things kind of started to go bad in some way when you were like what age?
17.
Yep. And then what age did you start binge eating and purging?
18, 19.
Okay. So it spiraled quite quickly from the very start. Wow. Yeah. And then what point did you reach out for help?
22, 23. Okay.
And now you're 27.
27, yeah.
So it's been a long struggle for you. Yeah.
Yeah. I try to always make right, but sometimes I found myself in the cycle. I'll get better, I'm fine now, I'm healthier. And one thing happens, one situation. I've avoided a lot of social situations, and I identified that sometimes social situations leads me to binge. And so after being uncomfortable around people looking at my body, looking how I am, I binge it when I get home, and I always try to be alone. And all this journey I've spent with my boyfriend. And so with the beginning, I was single. Started to dating him at 19.
Okay.
That helped me, but now I can see that I can do it by myself. It's not about him. It's not about. It's a choice that I've made with or without him. So I've noticed that I changed because my doctor told me that scary thing about my health.
Right. And so with your boyfriend, did you open up to him about your struggles? Did he know?
At some point, he noticed my mood change and my attempts to get along, to be, and so he started asking me. At some point, becomes too hard to hide. Because we've seen a lot. So I talked about him, and he supported me a lot in this process, even if there are sometimes he gets really mad, really bad, really mad about all these things that happens, about vomiting, about exercising. And so we talked, but I feel that I made the decision for me.
Amazing. Yeah, no, it's interesting because there was I think a lot of my healing as well happened when it was my boyfriend, definitely not directly, but his presence in my life, it helped me get better. And I always remember thinking back then, I was like, almost like, oh, I should have been able to do it on my own, or did I would I have been able to do it without him? But then reflecting back, I'm like, who cares? We're all human. We need the help of people, whether it's going to be him or my sister or a doctor. You don't have to do it on your own. And but definitely over the years, seeing I would always have those thoughts of, oh, if we broke up, would I go back to my old ways? But I feel like over the years, I've just built that trust in myself that no, I'm actually totally fine. If anything happened, it's going to be fine.
And your journey, when you share with us, makes me think about my history, my past, and comforts me that sometimes things happen and we can change, we can do different choices, and we're still learning. And this is a thing that I keep in my mind, because sometimes I tend to judge me some choices. I became afraid of get stuck in the patterns again. But when I see your page and your content, that sometimes I've seen a lot of pages about food freedom, about healthy choices, fine balancing. But sometimes I think there's a lot of attention, highlights about this, but sometimes these pages don't look at us. as human beings that have difficult emotions, that have other things to do and to think about, more than food freedom. Sometimes food freedom becomes a pressure to be food freedom.
Yeah,
and I don't
interesting.
feel it like in your page.
That's so interesting to hear. Wow. Yeah, like I think even it's been for me a bit of a journey over the years as well of seeing even doing this page, right? Like my job is to always talk about food freedom.
Yes.
And sometimes I'm like, I don't care about food. Like I don't want to talk about it because I have to talk about it every single day. So yeah, it's interesting to see. Yeah, you know, I have a life outside of food freedom, and there's other things that sometimes I care about more. But no, it's really cool to see that you got so much from my page, and I'm sure other pages too, that's already helped you so much. So tell us a little bit more about where are you now with your food and body journey, and maybe what do you still want to improve?
Now I am at a point that I can tell that I found balance. Sometimes I get afraid about social events, because of my food choices and how I will deal with the challenge. But I can see that I found more knowledge, self-knowledge, about what I like, what makes me feel good. And sometimes the most of foods that makes me feel good before, today doesn't feel the same. Today I like the taste, like the texture, but not at that point that becomes an obsession. And sometimes I found today I know that when I deprive myself about something, it can become something out of control.
Right.
So I tend to honor the desires that I have, but I tend to think também, think too, how it will make me feel at medium long term.
Yeah.
In terms of health, because I want to live a healthy life and have a healthy choices, because I want to live a good life and have autonomy, independent, in good, healthy terms.
Yeah, I definitely get that.
And about what I want to improve, what I want to improve is about become less anxious about some events, social events. And because, especially weekends, because Monday, Friday, I became a routine more stability. Steps. And Saturday, Sunday becomes more free to make choices, and sometimes those choices makes me kind of anxious. Yet.
In what, like, talk about that a little bit more. How do those choices make you anxious, or what about it makes you anxious?
It makes me anxious about how I will feel after eating some kind of foods, and just like going to my grandpa's house, and becomes a lot of cakes, breads, and sometimes those foods makes me more anxious. Yeah. I try to eat. Sometimes I don't, because I feel it will get worse. But when I try to do it, I focus. On how it makes me feel, how it makes me feel empty or fullness,
Mm-hmm.
full. And sometimes I still get anxious about it.
I'm going to pause right there for a minute to share something with you. So if you've been listening so far and feel like you're ready to start your recovery journey with me, I've got the perfect springboard. That is my free masterclass, Why You're Still Binge Eating and How to Stop. It's a 35-minute free video masterclass where I'll walk through all of the reasons you might still be binging. Then I'll give you 3 actionable steps to stop binge eating. So if you're looking for actual results in your life, want to never binge again, trust me, I know the feeling. I was stuck for 10 years doing that. Then head to the show notes to get instant access today. I'll also gift you something for joining me at the masterclass, but I'll leave that surprise for you to find out for yourself. Life is just so damn short, and it's not worth feeling so miserable, unhappy, unhealthy with binging taking over. So watch the masterclass today to start your new life. Okay, let's get back into the show.
About how I will feel after and how those choices will affecting on my body image too, because I still think that my body image is something that I try to always keep some pattern. Because I go to the gym yet, but I try to find more balance on those exercises.
Right. So it's kind of anxiety around eating something that's not in your normal routine that it could potentially, is it that you're worried about how it'll affect you with your mid to long term health, or more like weight changes?
Both of us now, né?
Both of those.
both of those. And because sometimes I really I'm really concerned about health long terms, but sometimes body image is important to me. I try to make some changes that makes me feel more comfortable. Like I gave up skinny jeans. So I try to give the context, the ambient, less
Less what?
Less clues.
Wait, what was the sentence?
I try to give the people less factors to they analyze about me, about my body, how it looks like. Try to let them more obscure to avoid those comments, or to feel more comfortable too, because skinny jeans tends to make me feel
I'm the exact same. Oh my God. It's so funny because this week I was even thinking, I was like, I'm so thankful that skinny jeans are not as like in fashion anymore. Like I'm wearing baggy jeans right now and I'm like, they're so much more comfortable.
Yeah. It's freedom to our legs.
Exactly. And even like the stomach area as well. It's just like looser. And when you eat, it's like, oh, yeah.
And I think this is good to see how you've changed too, because I follow you from many years.
Yeah.
So I can see your journey too, and it makes me comfortable and happy to see that healing or not is possible. That find balance it's possible to find. I love to see how you're going with your hobbies, with your choices, because it inspires me to find mine. So when I feel boredom, I can play video games. I watch NBA, F1. So I directed my activities and my pleasures to other things about food. Even if I really like to go out on the weekends to eat.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing in the journey is like decentering food and your body. It's just before it's everything. It's all you care about and think about. And so obviously it's going to become more stressful and obsessive. But if we can just, focus on some other more, enriching activities, then it's just going to get easier for sure.
Yeah. And now I am at the point that I eat a lot of more than everyone or the major one. People around me, and they comment, and sometimes it gets hurt because remembers me how those comments hurts. Just like, oh, you're so skinny and you eat a lot. So now I know that I eat the amount that I need for my activities, for my lifestyle, for what I want. So now I really eat a lot of more than I used to eat when I was dieting, and now I found more comfortable in my own skin.
Yeah, it's something you said there was, now you know yourself, like how much food you need to eat for the amount of activities that you do. And I think that's also a big part of the journey, is just coming back to you, not caring about what that person on social media eats or what that, like the comment from your family. It's like, whatever, like I'm doing me, I'm focusing on, your long-term health, like, and then everything else in your life. And even as you said earlier, how, even just rediscovering, oh, what are the foods that I like and want to eat? Probably, I'm sure with you as well, as like so many years of almost forcing yourself to eat just certain foods that were good or would help you stay thin or whatever. So I know that's, for me, that was a very fun part of the journey, was like, I can finally eat all these foods again. For me, it was actually going back to the food that my mom cooked when I was a kid, because for me, they're like middle ground foods, like lasagna or chili con carne or stuff like that, curry. And I had just banned it when I was trying to be super healthy. And so to go back to that was so nice.
And improves the relationships, and you became closer to what's important. And because sometimes food becomes the most important thing. It's all about it, and all about I can think about. But now you can balance what's important and what makes you closer to people that you love, to things that you would like to experiment, because we live once. So became just food. Think life about just food and food choices, and center your life in your choices, brings a life without color, without movement.
And it's without fun as well.
Yeah.
There was even a time when my mom, she even mentioned, while I was kind of struggling with food, I think it was back then, and I was like quite triggered by it, I guess understandably, but she was like, it's quite almost like self-centered, the whole food thing, because it's always like, what am I eating? What's wrong with me? But like, it's all like me. And I don't want to say that like to like attack anyone or say that you're being selfish, but when you get out of it, it's like, oh, finally I have more space to care about, building more relationships or improving my career, or like all the other parts of your life finally get attention.
And sometimes I don't know how it goes to you, but to me, I became surprised with how many things there are in life more than food.
Yes, yeah, it's very true. When sometimes I get frustrated looking back on, it was probably the worst for me during university. And I, just all I did was think about food, skipping classes, like sleeping in because I was binge eating, and it like not doing anything else, and exercising as well. And when I look back, I'm like, oh, there was so much that I wasn't discovering about the world. Like even, in all of that spare time I had during university, I don't know, hindsight, it's 2020 to look back, but I could have started, a little mini business or started learning new skills that would help me in my career, discovering all these different avenues of opportunities, but I just was too focused on this one thing. So it's kind of sad looking back, but nothing you can do about it now.
And I try to see as a learning. To how I don't want to be anymore.
Exactly.
To do anymore. And this is how I try to look at things at this point, because to create, to promote memories that doesn't restrict to.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat, just trying to have more fun now, have more experiences, do more different activities. Whenever I notice that, I don't know, if I'm just kind of wasting time, not like I always have to be productive, but if I just notice like I'm very bored or stagnant, I try to remember like, I don't want to have this thought in 10 years, oh, look at all that time that you weren't really doing anything with. It's not like the thing had to be achieving, but just doing anything that feels good or adds to your life.
And this is an opportunity to get yourself know better.
Yeah, definitely.
See what sounds good to you about what to do in life, career choice, and with whom you want to spend your time.
Very true. So if you could go back to your 17-year-old self, what would you tell her now?
I would tell that sometimes life gets harder and pressure and stressful, but you don't have to take things so seriously, because even if we give a lot of importance to comments people, that's just a comments people. They are worried about themselves, about their choices, about their interests, and sometimes it's just a spelled out word. And so don't give a lot of importance to those comments. What's important is you to know what's good to you, what sounds good to you. And I would like to advise myself to get myself know better, to establish limits and balance in my relationships, in my choices, because what we live today is a consequence of what we chose yesterday.
Very true. I love that. I feel like we all need that advice sometimes, like, stop taking it so damn seriously. No one is so worried about you. You're only so worried about yourself. Like, it's all good.
There's a lot of pressure of many areas of our lives. So the stress of comments, the stress of college, the stress of choices tends to afastar, distance us from our choices or what's really important to us. Blur our vision.
Yeah, I hear you on that. Well, it was really cool to have you on here and to get to know you better and hear your story. Thank you so much for coming on.
Brid, I really appreciate this moment. So I'm really thankful to have this opportunity to talk with you, that inspired me and made my journey more flexible, more light, leve.
Light or
light? No. Heavier
and then
lighter.
Yeah. Later.
more light. So I don't know if this content can be used because my English, because of what we talked, but I really appreciate and I'm really thankful for this opportunity. And or can be money, monetary.
Oh yeah.
Can be sometimes makes harder to buy your content, but I'm working out on it. So
Awesome.
I really appreciate your content, and I encourage you to keep going, because there are a lot of pages talking about this, but the authenticity that you talk, I see through.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, thank you so much, and thank you to everyone listening. And that's the scoop for today. I hope you enjoyed the episode and learned something new that you can start applying to your life. It really helps my podcast to grow and reach more women who are struggling as well when you rate and review. So if you got a spare minute, I would appreciate it so much if you could rate and review. And if you took something from this episode, it would mean the world to me if you could share it with someone in your life. Change someone's day, mood, or even their life. Be that person. I know I absolutely love it when my sister sends me podcast episodes. It just shows me she's thinking of me and she wants to help me elevate alongside her. As always, feel free to DM me on Instagram at freewithbrid. I'm always open for feedback, and let me know what you want me to speak about on the podcast, because after all, this podcast is for you. Okay, that's it from me. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you next time.